Back when Democrats held majorities in the House and the Senate, 2009, when you were Speaker, President Obama was asked about codifying Roe versus Wade and said abortion's a moral and ethical issue and, quote, not the highest legislative priority. Do you think it was a mistake for him, for other presidents, not to push harder when Democrats had the majority?
If I just may, the focus we have right now is an urgent one in order to try to improve this, what we're calling it, fake or draft decision, whatever it is. I think that this is a waste of time. The fact is, in 2009, we really did not have a pro-choice Democratic Party. I had to fight against some of the people who did not want to pass the Affordable Care Act because they were concerned that it might enable more freedom of choice. It really didn't go down that path.
I don't think that question is a waste of time. I think it's important for Democrats to learn from their own history and to learn from their own failures. And for her to specifically cite that Congress didn't have enough pro-choice Democrats is honestly not something I'm willing to buy. Democrats had a super majority in the beginning of Obama's administration. And I would venture to say, considering how harshly the Democratic Party, the establishment Democratic Party, fights against progressive lawmakers, I'm pretty sure they could have found the ability to sway some of the more conservative elements of their party. But if we're to take Pelosi's statement there at face value, if we're to just believe what she's saying, wouldn't she be against supporting anti-choice Democrats today? But that's not what's going on. Nancy Pelosi is strongly endorsing a conservative Democrat in Texas named Henry Cuellar, who was the only no vote on a House bill that would codify reproductive rights for women. So she's full of it. And I love how salty she gets the second someone tries to point to the failures of the Democratic Party and its leadership. Fact of the matter is, Margaret Brennan is not gonna do a decent job in saying exactly what needs to be said. So we'll say it here. Nancy Pelosi, along with the Democratic Party, has failed the American people. They failed their base, they failed their voters, they failed the people who have done the hard work on the ground to get out the vote. They have failed their small dollar donors. They are failures. When you look at a photo of Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer or anyone else in Democratic leadership, you need to understand that they failed you, they will continue to fail you, and they will be furious with you if you point that out. But this is supposed to be a country that is democratic. We get to decide whether or not our elected leaders are representing our best interests. They're not representing our best interests. And I find it hilarious that she thinks that she's entitled to a round of applause, even though she has failed us in the past, she is failing us in the present, and she will certainly fail us in the future. That is the Democratic Party brand.
Okay, so it's amazing that she said, well, we just didn't have enough pro-choice Democrats at the time. That is almost certainly a lie. They had huge majorities. But okay, let's take it at face value, okay? Because I know everybody in Washington says, you can't say that about the speaker. You have to just kiss her ass and assume everything she says is gold and printed and never fact check it, okay? But okay, let's be Washington media and assume that she's telling the truth. Not enough pro-choice Democrats. The obvious follow-up question is, then why are you in the middle of campaigning right now for an anti-choice Democrat? I mean, it's the most obvious question of all time. Obviously, it didn't get asked. That's mainstream media. I mean, I asked my friends today who mainly watch mainstream media from back in the day. Most of them have never heard that Nancy Pelosi's fighting tooth and nail for an anti-choice legislator. He could break the tie with the Republicans and make sure that Roe's never codified. And she's dying to get him in. And later, when she loses the vote, she'll say, well, I didn't have enough pro-choice Democrats. But wait a minute, you're doing that right now. We're not talking about 2009, you're doing it right now. Why? On the other hand, Cuellar is also being investigated by the FBI. Wait, what? And is way more likely to lose the general election. So what's the catch? If you're a normie, if you're new and you just came out of like watching only MSNBC and CNN, you'd be like, this is such strange things. I've never heard this on cable news. Why would she be doing that? Well, Cuellar's running against Jessica Cisneros, who's a progressive. And Pelosi and Democratic leadership despise progressives because they're not corrupted. They're like, they're embarrassing us. We're supposed to take hordes of cash like Cuellar did, sometimes illegally, stuff it into our pockets and use it to accrue power. And the problem is that if we ever do anything for our constituents, then we can't find a good reason to fundraise off of them. So, this is, now that Roe is going to be overturned, Pelosi's probably ecstatic. She's gonna raise gobs of money from this, and she knows they're never gonna fix it. So she thinks, oh my God, I'm gonna raise money off of this for the next decade. You think she's not gonna be around? She's gonna be around. Okay, so, and the Queen in Washington, Pelosi, is to never be criticized. So, whenever I do criticize her, the people like literally jump out of their seats. It happened at a panel in Politicon. David Frum, the loser who did so many losing presidential candidate campaigns, jumped out of his seat and said, how dare you? You have besmirched the reputation of Nancy Pelosi. She has passed so many things. I said, okay, great. We're on the panel together. It's all on tape. What did she pass? She passed Obamacare. Obamacare was written by a right-wing think tank, Heritage Foundation, mandates that you buy from private health insurance companies who donated to Obama and the rest of them, and especially the author of the bill, Max Baucus, and was originally championed by Mitt Romney. That's the only thing. I said, okay, good. Look, we can debate whether that was an important piece of right-wing legislation to pass or not. But give me one other thing she's passed. I mean, she's had like 20, 30, 40, 50 years. What has she passed? She couldn't even pass Roe with a codifying Roe with a super majority because she doesn't want to pass it. Neither did Obama, neither does Biden. All they care about is money, money, power, me. They're screwing you on purpose for their own power. That's who Nancy Pelosi is. Don't believe any of the liars in mainstream media who are currently all covering for her. Look, just one last thing on this. If Donald Trump this week had come out and said, you know what, I'm gonna be for a candidate that's pro-choice. He believes in the right to abortion and I'm endorsing him. What do you think would happen? You all know it. Even if you were brainwashed to the end of time by New York Times and thinking Democrats care about you, you all know what would happen. There'd be headlines everywhere. Donald Trump endorses pro-abortion candidate. Oh my God, what a hypocrisy, unbelievable, right? Pelosi does it, Clyburn does it, they're like, no, shh. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell anyone, because if you tell people, then they'll know that Pelosi's a fraud and doesn't mean anything she says. Shh. That would be reporting. It wouldn't be marketing for corporate Democrats. That's why almost no reporters doing it. By the way, I always give credit where credit is due. NBC News, of all people, had an article about this. So I'll give them credit, everyone else. Shh, that's the Queen, that's the Queen. We all lie for her.
And people have been noticeably furious with our show. I've noticed that even Majority Report's been getting some criticism because of the, I would argue, incredibly constructive feedback that we have for Democratic leadership. And the question I have for those people who are so hyper-focused on angry at Republicans, which I understand, I hate Republicans too, can't stand them. They're the ones who are fighting to strip our rights away from us. But our line of defense had a line of offense, but we have a line of defense, right, supposedly, and that's the Democratic Party. And they're failing. What you want us to do? You want us to give them a pat on the back and enable their failures?
Yes, that's what they want.
Congratulate them on failing us? Okay, I'm not interested in that. So if you're watching the show and you want to see a bunch of hosts who tell you pretty little lies so you can feel good about yourself, you're watching the wrong show. They have failed you. It's done, it's over, they failed you. For me, this issue was the final issue. It's the nail in the coffin for Democratic leadership for me. Over, it's done, okay? I'm not interested in enabling them. They've had way too many chances, and you're absolutely right, Cenk. They see this not as a tragedy in the country, not as a tragedy for all the women who are likely going to die because they're still gonna try to get an abortion, likely an illegal abortion, an abortion that might even kill them. They don't see that as they see this as a moment of celebration. They're not saying it to you, but their actions would prove otherwise.
Look, guys.
They're out there shilling for, hold on, I'm not done. Shilling for Henry Cuellar, okay? And then they're also doing what? collecting the bucks, buku bucks. This is great. It's all about the fundraising for them. It has been about the money and nothing more ever since the Supreme Court opened the floodgates and allowed unlimited campaign contributions into the coffers of our politicians, yes, including the Democratic Party. Ever since that happened, the Democratic Party has quickly morphed into the Republican Party substantively. Rhetorically, they're a little different, rhetorically. But I would ask you, when it comes to substantive, when it comes to bread and butter issues, that's really that different from the Republican Party. I mean, it's amazing how they're getting pats on the back as we speak, because, oh, look at the wonderful bipartisan way in which Congress has allocated billions of dollars in military spending for Ukraine. Isn't it so wonderful? Yeah, it's because they have the same defense contractor donors, you idiots. That's why.
Okay, so first of all, when they are theoretically on our side rhetorically, as Anna pointed out, which some Democrats brag about, like, hey, we say the right words. Well, that's just marketing. Your votes and what you pass and don't pass are the only thing that matters. Like, hey, we have good marketing for our lies is not a winning campaign slogan. Although it is in Washington. They think, oh, they're so good at lying. Give them A pluses, give them A pluses. Oh, and they raise so much money. They're so credible, right? If you're good at lying, you're credible in Washington. It's just incredible. All right, but I want to go to Chuck Schumer real quick, guys. So Chuck Schumer, right now there's good progressive groups. They mean well. They're trying to pressure Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski to override the filibuster, because if the two Republicans join the Democrats, you won't even need Manchin or even necessarily Sinema, and you get rid of the filibuster and actually codify Roe. It's actually doable, right? Chuck Schumer isn't going to even bring that up for a vote. So what are we wasting our time for? Why are you pressuring Murkowski and Collins on a vote that isn't even going to happen because Chuck Schumer decided he didn't want to embarrass Manchin and Sinema? That protecting his corrupt colleagues was more important than protecting women's rights. So for the Democratic cheerleaders in the audience who say, like, if you just cheer louder for the Democrats and Pelosi and Schumer and Biden, we'll win. How would we win? He's not even going to introduce the vote. We have absolutely no chance of winning. Is that because I didn't cheer loud enough for Schumer? Or is that because Schumer decided he's not going to have the vote? What are you on me for? Go ask Schumer for the vote. No, your idea is, no, don't ask Schumer for the vote. Cheerlead him not even voting on this issue and giving up preemptively. How would that help you codify Roe so we could have choice in this country? You're agreeing to give up your rights because a Democrat is doing it? Look, man, you'll never be able to explain that to anybody. The only reason that any actual human being believes that is because, man, their brain has been thoroughly washed by mainstream media. It doesn't matter how much the Democrats screw you. It doesn't matter that they never pass any bills. It doesn't matter that they lie in every campaign. And it doesn't matter that they do the same exact thing as Republicans. You have to support the Democrats. Well, okay, to each his own, but it's our policy funeral. None of our policies are ever gonna pass. Super last thing. Look, you can tell who's right and who's wrong. If you're one of those skeptical, the Democrats. Did it work? Did it work? Did it pass? Okay, you just want to cheer louder and you want us to do propaganda and lies on their behalf? Okay, just think about this, guys. I said that $15 minimum wage wouldn't pass because the Democrats don't actually want it. Everybody in Washington said that it was scandalous, it was an outrageous claim. Pelosi, Schumer, Biden, they all said it's easily going to pass. It didn't pass. You know why? Not just the Republicans. 8, not 2, 8 Democrats voted against it in the Senate. They never intended to pass it. They knew they didn't have the votes, and that their Democratic colleagues were going to join the Republicans in making sure that you had lower wages. I was right. Everyone in Washington was wrong. And by the way, if you say, oh yeah, you cherry picked, whatever excuse you make for failures, okay, then I'll tell you in the future, okay? I'll tell you right now. There's a 0% chance they're going to codify Roe. They're not even going to try. So but please do your own research. See if Chuck Schumer calls the filibuster vote. Then you'll know, who was right? Were we right? Or were we wrong? And if we had just kissed Schumer and Pelosi's ass more, that they somehow would have miraculously won without a vote? There are verifiable facts in the world. So a lot of you have gotten free and broken of those chains, but a lot of you live in a completely alternate reality, just like the Trump supporters, and you don't even know it. You don't, just like the right wing doesn't realize they've been brainwashed. Look into actual facts. They're not even going to vote on it. The whole thing is theater. Everyone, including the so-called reporters, are lying to you. They'll tell you that they're not gonna vote on it, but all the headlines are Democrats fight hard, Democrats are unbelievable, they're pro-choice, while they're actually campaigning for an anti-choice candidate. The lies are unreal. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, I really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.